Are you tired of your chord progression sounding the same every time you sit down to play the piano? Here's the good news. You don't have to add new and different chords in order to make your music sound fresh. Using these different left hand patterns today, I'm going to show you how you can completely transform the same chord progression so it sounds amazing every single time. And if you stick with me to the end of this video, I'll even give you some tried and true right hand patterns that are going to sound great and give you some creativity boost when you need it the most. My name's Rebecca and welcome to my piano studio. I'm so glad to have you here. If you want to play the piano but you feel a little bit lost, this is the perfect place for you. I always played the piano all the way from when I was a child and then all the way through college. And I was never taught how to just sit down and make beautiful music. Because I was never taught that, I had to learn it myself. And I don't want you to have to go through the same thing. So that's what I'm here for. I'm excited to teach you this really simple chord progression in C major and show you all the ways that you can change your left hand so that it sounds different every single time you play it. So essentially, it's like 5 different chord progressions, even though it's all the same chords. Come over to the piano. This is really easy. I can't wait to show you how it's done.
So today we're going to begin in probably the easiest key, which is the key of C major. And the reason that it's easy is because we are going from a white note to a white note with only white notes in between. So there's no black notes to worry about today for this first time that we're going to be improvising together. So I like to always begin with a scale because a scale kind of sets our ears to where we're going. And also it helps teach your fingers the range that we're playing in. So right now we're going to be playing between a C and a C and every note in between. So you don't have to know the proper scale fingering. We'll teach that in another video. But for now, you can literally just use one finger and go from C to C and then back down. So let's do the C major scale. And then coming back down. Now we're going to talk about our left hand and making triads in our left hand. So what a triad is just a stacked set of 3 notes. So in order to build this first triad, we're going to build a chord on every single one of the notes in C major. I'm only going to show you how the first one is made, but that is how all of the rest of them are made as well. So from our C, if we count up 3 notes, 1, 2, 3, we get to an E. So we have a C and an E. That's called our third because we went 1, 2, 3. If we start on C and count up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we get to a G. That's our fifth. So if we put the 1, the 3, and the 5 down, that creates our first triad. So that is a C major chord. Then if we build a triad on the next note of the C scale, which is a D, we get a D minor chord. D, F, A. The third note of the C major scale is an E. We build a triad, and that's E, G, B, and E minor. Our fourth note is built on an F, and that is an F major chord, F, A, C. Our fifth, this is called our dominant, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is a G. We have a G, B, D. Our dominant chord is a G major. Our sixth chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is built on the A, and that is an A minor chord. And then our seventh note is a B. This is actually a B diminished. It's a B, D, and F. And then we end on our major 1. So those are all the different triads in the key of C major. Now that we know how chords are formed in the key of C major, I'm going to show you the order of chords that we're going to do for our chord progression today. So I'll show it to you on your left hand, and this is going to be in triad form, which simply means that stacked chord progression. So we're going to start and end with a C chord. That is how our ear can tell that we're in the key of C major. So that's our 1 chord. Then we're going to our 4 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is our F major. Then we go to our 2 chord, which is built on D. So that's our D minor. And then our 5 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is our G chord. And and then back to 1. So let's try this in triad form. Just make sure that we've got it. C major to F major
to D minor
to G major and then to C major. The good news about our first left hand pattern is that you already know how your hands are going to move, and that is using the triad form. But all we're going to do is we're going to break it up so that we play our first note of the chord, which is the C, and then our next 2 notes, which is E and G, 2 times. So I like to refer to this as an pa pa, pa pa, pa pa. So we're going to do that for every single chord. So that's our C, and then we move to
F,
D minor, G, and then back to C. So that's what our left hand is going to be doing. Now this is going to be in a 3-4 pattern. We're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And when we're making a melody in our right hand, all we have to think about is playing between a C and a C and only the white notes. Anything in between is going to sound great. However, when you're first starting out, it can be a little bit intimidating to play hands together. So for right now, I want you to just keep your hands in a 5-finger position, and I'm going to move, this is middle C, I'm going to move my thumb up to this C. So we have a 5-finger position right here. And anything that you play in your right hand is so that your hand is not going to be moving around because your left hand is going to be moving around. I'm also going to use my right pedal, which is the sustain pedal. It makes everything flow together and just sound really great when you're using it. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to start there and make sure that you understand how your left hand and your right hand work together. Then once you're comfortable with that, we can expand the right hand a little bit. So right now, we're going to now play anything between the C and the C here, from this one to this one, or from this one to this one. But one thing that I want you to be aware of is the fact that we don't want to pop around like this. Even though that's technically allowed, it doesn't sound exactly like a melody. We want our melody notes to be within just a couple notes of each other, and that's going to really help. So now let's give this a try one more time where we expand our right hand a little bit. You don't have to go fast. You just can play any notes at the same time. Now that we understand that we can make a melody between the octaves of C and C, or maybe this octave of C and C, I now want you to think of the same chords in your right hand. So we have a C major that we're starting out with in our right hand. This could be C, E, and G in any order. So you could do it stacked like this, or you could take the C off the bottom. You could put that at the top. Or you could take the E off the bottom, put that at the top. We could keep going up and keep traveling up. So we're still only doing C, E, and G the whole time. But we're just doing them in different orders. So all of those are valid options for the C chord. Let's do the same thing for the F chord. I'm going to start below middle C just so we don't run out of room here. But we can do an F chord like this. Or we can change it to the F on the top or the A on the top. And we keep traveling up like this, as high as you want to go, and then you can come back down. You see how that's still an F chord, but with all those different variations, and they all sound a little bit different. So if we're doing our left hand like this, we can then try any of those variations of our C chord. Now let's do the same thing with the F chord. D minor chord. G chord. And then back to our C. So you see, I didn't really change any melody in the right hand. I was simply playing the chords in any order. And that might take a little bit of practice if you've never tried that before. Go very slowly and see if you can just do some different ones of those shapes as you're going up. This is going to go for all of the rest of the patterns in the left hand that we're going to do. Okay, so try out those shapes. And then once you have the different shapes down, you can also use any of the notes in between. So for example, let's use this shape of a C major chord. So we have our E, G, and C on top. We have two other notes that are not playing, which our 3-finger is over the A and our 4-finger is over the B, if you see that. So we have a 5-finger position here, which gives us any of those choices when we're playing. So if we're doing our pa pa over here, we can play any notes over here. See that? So you can take any of those 5 notes, and we have the understanding of the C chord, but adding those 2 notes in there then allow you to make some different melodies. We can do that with any of them. Let's just look at one more. Let's look at our D minor. So we have this, let's take this D minor where we have F, A, and then D on top. So same deal as before. We have our 3-finger and our 4-finger that are not playing with that chord. But if we put our 3-finger down on the B and our 4-finger down on the C, we have this nice 5-finger position for this D minor chord. So then when we do our pa pa over here, it still sounds like a D minor, even though we're occasionally hitting the B and the C, which aren't in that chord. So we can do that with all of them. And this does take a little bit of practice, but it's worth trying. For our next pattern in our left hand, we're going to use only 2 notes, and that is with our 5-finger and our 1-finger. For every single chord, we are simply making an octave. So for the C chord, we're doing C on the bottom and C on the top. That's it. And for our rhythm, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So our last one was in 3/4 time, which is 3 beats a measure. This one is going to be in 4 beats per measure, and we're doing quarter notes every single time. And then we move to our F, then to D minor, just the 2 notes, to G major, and then back to C. Now, if you have a hard time with keeping beat over here, I would suggest a metronome. You can put a metronome on for 60 beats a minute, and that is the second hand of a clock. So you can work on doing your 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, then moving quickly, 1, 2, 3. Move quickly. So if you're having trouble with the moving, the metronome is a really helpful tool that people are afraid of, but they shouldn't be because it's a super helpful tool. So once you understand the steady beat in our left hand, we're going to go through the same process that we did for the last one. So we're going to start by keeping our right hand in that original 5-finger position. And you can play anything in there while you are moving your chords. So it can sound like this. So if that feels really, really easy for you, that means you're ready for step number 2, which is using the whole scale between C and C. So you can use anything in between here or anything in between here. And we're keeping our notes pretty close together instead of popping all around. So let's try this, our step number 2. And once you have done that, you are ready then to move on to our different chord shapes. So we're not going to go through them all again, but now we get to choose our different chord shapes. So they can either be root position, they can be first inversion, or second inversion. And let's try this. So this is step number 3 with our left hand octaves. So once you try that a few times and you feel the different inversions in your right hand, then it's time to move on to our passing tones. So this is the one where we add all of the different notes that are in the different shapes. So remember, with our C inversion, we have this 5-finger position. So remember, if any of these steps are too difficult for you, then pause the video and practice it for a while before moving on. We don't want to become frustrated with piano playing. That is absolutely the opposite reason than why we play. So let's give this a try now to hear what this full thing will sound like with our octaves. Now here's a little bonus tip. If you need something to do in your right hand and you're really struggling with this whole coordination of your left hand and right hand, I'm going to give you something where your right hand doesn't have to move at all and it's going to sound fantastic. So we're not going to change left hand at all. We're going to keep this 4 beats in our left hand, and in our right hand, I want you to hit a G and a G with your octave. And then we're going to do a C in the middle. So this comes from our 1 chord, which is why this is going to sound great every single time. So even though our 1 chord represented is usually a C and a C, because we're doing a C major, this time we're changing it up a little bit. We're putting a G and a G with a C in the middle. So in your right hand, I just want you to feel how this sounds. It's a very lovely and fresh sound. So now we can do our octaves over here and just hold down our right hand. Keep it right where it is. Listen to that. Keep it right where it is. So once you've tried that, and you're like, oh, wow, that sounds really great together, we're going to now change the rhythm up to where now I'm going to just hold an octave on this side, and I'm going to do 4 beats over here. it's a great way to get started if you're just really intimidated by putting both hands together. So this is a different way to change up the octaves in the left hand. All right, our next pattern for our left hand includes a little bit more movement, but now you're comfortable with octaves, so that's going to help a lot. So let's start with a C octave, but this time we're going to put the number 2 finger down on the 5th, which is our G in the middle. Okay, so we have C, G, C, and then we're going to do one more note, which is we're going to take our 2 finger off the G and we're going to cross it over to the next note, which is a D, and then come back down. So I want you to just stay here on this fun arpeggio. And you can even put your pedal down to hear how that sounds like. Once you have that feeling, then we're going to move on to our F chord. Now, let's move to F. So we have F with C in the middle, and then cross over to G. And try that a few times. And now let's do the D with A in the middle, crossing over to E. And now the G. D in the middle, crossing over to A. And now back down to C. So again, you can put your metronome on, and you can do it so that it is 1 every beat. Or you can do 2 for every beat like this. All the way through the progression. You don't have to do that step though if you're having a fine time with your rhythm. Okay, so once we have that pattern down in our left hand, we're going to do the same exact thing that we've done before. First step, hands in a 5-finger position. So let's not go too quickly, but let's do this with hands together. So once you've got that 5-finger position, which that sounded really pretty, I really liked that alone, then we're going to now have use of the entire 2 octaves. I really like this pattern because it sounds like an ocean wave or something like that. That's what it always reminds me of. Okay, so now that we've done the 2 octaves, let's now look at our different chord patterns. So this time we are choosing different inversions, different forms in our right hand, and not adding the passing tones yet, but just doing the different forms of the chord. It is now time to employ our passing tones with our 5-finger positions and hear how this whole ocean wave pattern comes together. I'm going to come down just 1 octave with my left hand just so I don't run into one another and keep traveling up with both hands, which tends to be happening sometimes. And now let me show you how that easy right hand pattern of the G and the G with the C in the middle, sounds with this rolling pattern in the left hand. The cool thing about different patterns in our left hand is the fact that you can combine these patterns to make an original song every single time you sit down at the piano. So, our original chord progression of 1, 4, 2, 5, 1 doesn't always have to sound the same. It can sound different when you add all these variations to it. So I'm going to try right now to put all three of these together, but really there was more like six when we had all of these different right hand patterns too, with this in the right hand. So I'm going to try if I can put all of these things together. Let's see if I can do it. I'm not completely confident in myself, but hey, we're all here learning and doing this together.
Those are only some of my favorite left-hand chord patterns. Which one's your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. You're really used to C major now, and it's so great. So check out this video. This is the same exact chord progression that we just did, but with 5 different left-hand patterns. Put it all together, and you have just got a wide gamut that you can use every single time you sit down to play the piano. Let me know in the comments how it's going. If there's anything you'd like me to dive a little bit deeper into, I would love to be able to do that for you. Until then, I hope that you keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.